Hey guys and girls, Bored Now back with you. On this video I will be talking about the first episode of Cruel Summer, and the episode is called Happy Birthday Jeanette Turner. So I will be going to full spoilers, and this has just hit Amazon in the UK. I know it's been out a month in the States, so if you're listening to this review in the States, I guess you might have plenty to say about it, because I know the first season has already finished there. Seems pretty red hot in the buzz it's getting, so a lot of it is like jumping between times. You have this nice sort of structure that's set up from the beginning, which is that it says, first of all, you get 90s computer graphics, which is pretty fun, like literally, because this is set in the 90s. But it sets it up as then it's based over 3 different years, so 93, 94 and 95. Hey, my kind of years. But then it's set over those 3 birthdays for this lead character of Jeanette Turner, who's played by Chidio Oano. I've probably mispronounced that, but she's sort of the lead, at least in the first episode. And it's a really smart structure, because what it does is, first of all, it avoids, at least in this first episode, some of the cliches of like this kind of teen drama where you have like popular kids and you have kind of outcasts and nerds. Because it's jumping between the 3, you don't really get to see a lot of that stuff. The other thing it does is it adds to the mystery, because it leaves you with a lot of blanks, it leaves a lot of questions, but ultimately there's enough in the characters, there's enough in the mystery to make you really intrigued in what's going on. So just to lay out the basics, when it starts on her first birthday, the character of Jeanette Turner, she's a very like typical modest, kind of nerdy and awkward teen girl, but quite bubbly as well, and that's something I quite like. I like that the characters in this aren't really that cliched. There's typical nerdy things about Jeanette, but they don't go too far like that. They give the impression she's just a regular teen girl. She's quite sort of lively and bubbly, that kind of thing. So that's on the first birthday. You see her woken up by her family, and the parents are being quite enthusiastic. I never quite liked the mother from the beginning, I will say that. She seemed a bit off, but the father's sort of very enthusiastic. The brother's kind of like whatever, because he's got a date with a girl that night, and Jeanette's being pretty cool about it. It's like, no, go and I'll have plenty of other birthdays, go and have your date. But yeah, the brother does come to her later and sort of apologises. But it uses this structure to show the 3 different versions of Jeanette over this time period and how things change. Because the opening part does have this kind of surreal dreamlike tone where it's almost like a birthday wish, a birthday dream appears to her in a bedroom wishing her happy birthday. And as I said, it jumps through the time. So obviously a year on, because the setup for the show, in case you don't know, is that the popular girl Kate, played by Olivia Holt, disappears, and Jeanette basically benefits. She assumes her life. She starts going out with Kate's boyfriend, or technically ex-boyfriend, I guess. So that stuff we see in the middle. There's like a particular effective like roller skating scene where they go on a date, and there's some great use of music, because obviously sometimes that stuff can be a bit cliched in these shows, a bit on the nose, but it's actually used quite well in this. I think it's used to sum up like a mood and a tone, rather than just hitting you over the head with, hey, this is a 90s show. It's more subtle than you might be used to. I enjoyed the use of the Cranberry song in that scene, for example. There's a good use of the Gabrielle song Dreams at one point as well, which is like the sort of opening back to 93. I think it's just showing how innocent times were at the start for Jeanette, and how sometimes it's a case of be careful what you wish for, and that's definitely a big moral thing in this first episode, because yeah, sure, she maybe wasn't the most popular, she maybe had issues and anxieties, but she still had this nice group of friends, Vincent and Mallory. Vincent, who it's sort of hinted might have a crush on her, but he sort of denies that. But it just, I think, captures teen life and how carefree and fun it can be, but also how sort of nasty it can turn, and how things can change for your life if you maybe take a chance. And, you know, it's nice to dream, but it does show that other side where be careful what you wish for. I know it's a cliche, but I think this episode actually does it very well. We jump forward to the Jeanette is very more downbeat, very more, and they get the style of that. It's a lot more sort of downcast, a lot more like dull and muted colours, and she looks like a completely different person. I mean, she suddenly looks more adult and sort of almost haggard. She's sitting there watching, you know, TV clips of like the news footage, like she has this on video. So I mean, it definitely suggests she's become a bit obsessive about the whole Kate thing. Had reputation around town now for being a bit of a freak, and everyone blames her for Kate's disappearance. Being Ayana is absolutely brilliant, because she has to play 3 different versions of this character, and she just nails each one. You believe in each version, and it's very effective. So I did like how this, I think it's definitely going for the more Euphoria style feel of teen show, rather than obviously some of the others you'll see going to be as dark as Euphoria, or maybe not as sexualized. I like the characters, the main characters, the setup of them. I like how they weren't really that cliched. They seem pretty grounded and sort of interesting and likable, because even you don't get much of Kate in this episode, but even when you see Kate, and the first time you see her is this scene in the mall where they hi, and Kate's actually like nice to her. And I say that obviously she should be, but you know, it's this thing because she's a popular girl in school, but she's actually nice to her, like wishes her happy birthday, and you know, I hope you have a good birthday, that sort of stuff. And obviously the boyfriend's there as well, and I like that Kate was actually quite likeable and grounded, even for like this super popular girl. That's certainly the way it comes across. So I think what's sort of interesting about the first episode is just looking at it from the point of view of Jeanette. I think obviously you're very sympathetic to her at times. Her father, where he later on leaves his wife, and he's seeing like the bartender of the local pub, and she seems actually she's very honest with Jeanette, but she's quite like solid and seems like someone who wants to be there for Jeanette, because she's obviously going through all this stuff with the media. So you have that stuff as well, but obviously there's certain relatable things with Jeanette where she's quite bitter towards her because she sees her as trying to replace her mother and stuff, and is actually very harsh on her, and the dad's girlfriend sort of puts her right. But yeah, I do like the structure and the mystery, because at one point one of the crucial scenes is where Jeanette, Vincent and Mallory go and steal like keys to like someone's house randomly, and it's because her father's like an estate agent, so that just as a little game they steal a random set of keys and see where it leads, and it leads to, as it turns out, the acting principal's house. Almost get caught out because he shows up, and she has to cover this first for being in the spotlight, sort of pranks and stuff, because when she covers for her friend she seems all very proud and high on it, but that plot detail does come back later, because it turns out that the acting principal was linked to Kate's disappearance because she shows up in his house. So that was a smart bit of writing which they call back to later, because when Kate eventually reappears a year later, and interview, where she blames, she doesn't directly blame Jeanette for the disappearance, but she links Jeanette to her not being found later because she claims that Jeanette saw that she was like captured in this house of this guy and didn't do anything about it, didn't alert anyone. So this is where obviously the accusations towards Jeanette is going to come, and we now have two sides of this story. So if I had to guess, I'm thinking maybe the next episode will be more from Kate's point of view. Like maybe we'll actually, I don't know if we'll see exactly what's happened to her, but we might actually see her during that time and her being kidnapped. Comes across her friends Vincent and Mallory. I think it's in the mall or something. She's like shopping with a couple of new friends who she's kind of inherited from Kate almost. He's like really scathing about her and mocking her and just showing her up, saying, "Did you know we used to be friends?" And then she sort of dumped us for you. And Vincent's like the more, no, come on, let's not do this. Let's be nice. That's always been here. I mean, if you ever want to talk, you only have to come and get me. And Mallory just isn't buying it. She just sees it as all part of the act. Because there's one of the weaker lines is actually when Mallory, it's a line about what we didn't want was a sequel to Kate Wallace. We got a sequel, and you know what? The original was bad enough. And there's one or two in the episode, but I do like this sort of conflict between them. And is Jeanette, on the level, is she being sincere, or has she been seduced by the world so much, the popular world, then she has sort of left her friends adrift and is kind of embarrassed to be seen with them of the act. It's all for show. She's episode, I thought, apart from one or two like on the nose type lines and moments, it was a good episode. I was into the character stuff. It did feel like a realistic portrayal of teenage life, and the performances were good, the lead performances, and they definitely didn't overdo it with like the 90s references or music. That stuff was quite well used, and definitely from a directing point of view, I think it was effective in showing these three different time periods. It's obviously all in the 90s, but I guess I just mean the time jumps and the difference in Jeanette's life. So I'm looking forward for more Cruel Summer. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you thought of this opening episode. And will you be watching more? I will be watching more. I'll be back with more Cruel Summer. As always, like and subscribe. See you guys again soon.